Or boys and girls, use this video to plan your build for the upcoming class, the Druid. I will be showcasing every single skill for the Druid and all the available essences for them at the release of the class on 3rd of July. Consider leaving a like. This took me quite a lot to put together, but yeah, that is going to be a huge help. Anyhow, the Druid will introduce a new class mechanic that is going to be quite simple. Honestly, you use skills and primary attack to build up your gauge meter, and then you use it for either the Werewolf or the Werebear transformation or the summon based skill. Anyhow, we will be diving into everything that we have here, starting with the gauge meter. This is how it looks. You can see this green bar. Build up your primal meter using skills or the primary attack. Primal meter cause a gauge can be used for summon skills and for the transformation of Werebear and the Werewolf skills. Basically, use your skills, spam them, and use your primary, and then transform into Werebear or Werewolf, and you will be dealing quite a lot of damage. Now, moving on to the next one, we have our first primary attack here, Ferocious Strike. And this is what it does: swing and slam your staff, dealing 12,000 to 18,000 damage. This is gonna depend on your base damage and your resonance, so keep that in mind. And over the 3 attack, enemies other than your primary target take only 25% damage from your swings and slams. So this is going to be somewhat a AoE attack, so enemies around your primary target will also take some damage, and generate 2 primary power per second and 1 primary power when hitting an enemy with the primary attack. Again, this is going to be this green meter. You attack and build that up. And then for the ultimate, Fan and Claw also grant you a shield for 5 seconds that absorb damage equal to 20% of your maximum life. This is going to be ultimate when you use the ultimate for your primary Ferocious Strike, and it has only 1 essence, and that is from the offhand. Versus Strike generate an additional 5% primary power when hitting an enemy. This can only occur 1 time every 3 seconds. And then the second primary attack is going to be the Landslide, and this is how it works: crack the earth and call forth jagged rocks, projecting them forward in a land that bursts with spikes when it hits an enemy, dealing 12,000 damage to a nearby enemy. And again, generate 2 primary power every second and 1 primary power when hitting an enemy with primary attack. And again, the ultimate is going to give you Nature Rat, also grant you a shield for 5 seconds that absorb damage equal to 20% of your maximum life, and this has 1 essence again, and that is from the main hand. Landslide also increase your primary attack speed by 7% for 5 seconds when it hits an enemy, stacking up to 3 times. Keep this in mind. These are not the maxed mastery values. On the max mastery values, your attack speed is going to be higher. Next, we have our first skill here, Cycle of Alive. This is what the skill does: strike the ground, causing scenes to quickly grow and create a field of restorative flora for 10 seconds, healing you and the allies for 5,500 life every 1 second. The vines produce a healing blossom every 1.5 seconds, and you and your allies heal for 11,000 life when you touch them, consuming the blossom, and generate 15 primary power when you use the skill. And these are going to be the essences on the right side. You can actually pause and read, otherwise this video is gonna get a bit too long. Next, we have our second skill here, and that is gonna be Earthquake. Create an earth shattering tremor at a target location, dealing 28,000 damage and knocking enemies airborne. Affected enemies fall back to the earth with great force, dealing 12,000 damage to nearby enemies where they land. And you have you can charge this skill to increase its area by 50% and generate 9 primal power when you use this skill. And again, we have a couple of essences here. You can see chest, 2 essences on the chest and 2 essences on the main hand. Moving on, we have Fire Tornado. Summoning a tornado for flame at a target location for 4 seconds that continually pull in enemies, dealing 4,500 damage per second. Affected enemies are also burned for 3,000 damage per second for 1 second. And you can generate 9 primal power when you use the fire tornado. And we have a couple of essences here on helm, 3 essences on the helm, and 1 on the main chest, and 1 on the main hand for the fire tornado. Moving on, we have another skill here, Rapid Might. Unleash a savage roar that inspire and invocate, increasing the maximum life on nearby enemies by 12.5% and your maximum life by 25% for 180 seconds. Those affected are also immune to the next 3 total loss of control effect for 6 seconds, and generate 15 primal power when you use this skill. And we have 2 essences here. The first one is from the legs and the second one is from the helm. Moving on, we have another skill here, Raven Spawn. Become a flock of ravens and fly to a target location. This is going to be a dash skill during which you are untargetable. You deal 13,500 damage to nearby enemies when you arrived at the target location, reverting to your original form. And you have 2 charges for this skill. Generate 6 primal power when you use this skill. It has 6-second cooldown, and we have 2 essences for this. The first one is from the shoulder, and then we have another one from the main hand. And moving on, we have another skill here, Stag Charge. Becoming a noble stag to perform 3 successful leap, dealing 14,500 damage and 20,000 damage respectively upon landing. The first 2 leaps also slow enemies, reducing their movement speed by 40%, which can stack. The final leap also knock enemies airborne. You are immune to loss of control and knock back while the skill is active. Generate 6 primal power when you use this skill. We have 2 essences here. The first one is from the helm and the second one is from the legs. And moving on, we have another skill here, Summon Grizzly. Summon a Grizzly companion for 24 seconds that leap to a target location and roar, dealing 31,000 damage to nearby enemies and stunning them for 4 seconds. The Grizzly companion strike enemies with its claw, dealing 14,000 damage every 5 seconds. The Grizzly companion can smash the ground, dealing 17,000 damage and knocking back a nearby enemy. Generate 36 primal power when you use this skill. It has 36-second cooldown, and we have a couple of essences for the Grizzly. Summon Grizzly, 1 from the offhand, 1 from the helm, and another one from the helm. And then we have Summon Orc Sage. This is gonna be some sort of active skill. Command 1 Orc Sage to fly to a target location and self-destruct, dealing 12,000 damage to nearby enemies and immobilize them for 4 seconds. When an orc is summoned, the time expired, they will automatically self-destruct if enemies are nearby. Generate 9 primal when used. And then we have a passive ability for this as well. Passive summon 1 orc for every 3 primary attack that hit an enemy, up to a maximum of 4 orc sages, each fighting alongside you by firing a projectile that deals 6,300 damage. And we have a couple of essences here. The first one is from the legs, offhand, and again offhand. And next we have Summon Wolf, active skill like somewhat necromancer skeletons. Active skill, command your wolf companion to pounce on a target, dealing 8,500 damage to the target and nearby enemy, causing them to bleed for 1,000 damage per second for 4 seconds. Generate 6 primal power when used. Passive ability, summon 2 wolf companion to fight alongside you, dealing 6,100 damage to enemies. If you lose a wolf companion, they resummon after 6 seconds. And we have a couple of essences here for this ability as well. First one from the shoulder, well, 2 from the shoulder, then from the leg and main hand. And then we have the Surging Stone here. Tap into the raw strength of the earth, consuming primal power to cause thrown spears of the rock to erupt from the earth every second, dealing 7,300 damage to nearby enemies and causing them to bleed for 2,400 damage per second for 3 seconds. And consume 10 primal power every second while this skill is active. And it has one only essence here, and that is from the legs. And then we have the Thorn armor here. Grant nearby allies a Thorn armor for 5 seconds that absorb 27,500 damage. Thorns will erupt from you when attacked, dealing 9,400 damage to nearby enemies and slowing them by 40%. Cannot occur more often than once per second. Generate 9 primal power when used. And we have a couple of essences for this from the helm, chest, and again chest. And then we have a lot of abilities here for the transformation. The Werebear is going to be your transformation skill. So transform into a Werebear and roar, dealing 14,000 damage and stunning nearby enemies for 2 seconds. While a Werebear, you gain 1 stack of Arsene endurance, reducing the damage you take and the duration of loss of control effect by 3%, stacking up to 10 times. You consume 5 primal power per second while transformed. While a Werebear, your primary attack is in Maul, Wide Swing, Claw attack that deals 14 to 20,000 damage. Werebear form has 3 active skills. You can see those 3 active skills here. While you will be transformed, something like Abomination for the Blood Knight, you transform into a Werebear and you get a new set of skills, and these will be the skills on the right side. Crush, Bound, and Mangle. Smash the ground with both hands, dealing 12,000 damage to all nearby enemies, and additional damage equal to 10% of your maximum life, and maximum charges will be 3. And then Bound, dash forward, knocking back enemies in your path and dealing 19,000 damage. You are immune to total loss of control and knock during the dash. And then we have Mangle, grab 2 enemies in front of you and slam them together, creating an explosion force that deal 15,000 damage and stun nearby enemies for 1 second, dealing additional damage equal to 10% of your maximum life. The enemies grabbed and slammed together are stunned for 3 seconds. And then we have a lot of essences here for the Werebear. You can take a look, couple of them on the helm, chest, legs, main hand, offhand, and then we have more on the shoulders here for the Werebear. And lastly, we have another skill here that is going to give you another transformation. That is going to be Werewolf transformation. Transform into a werewolf and dash forward, dealing 20,000 damage and marking enemies along your path. When a marked enemy life drop below 50%, they will take 10,000 damage. Movement speed is increased by 30%, and you consume 5 primal per second while transformed. While you are a werewolf, your primary attack is a swipe, a sequence of claw attack that deal about 14,500 damage with every third attack, applying a bleed for about 5,700 damage per second. Werewolf form has 3 active skills, and again those will be the 3 active skills on the right side. Again, this is like the Blood Knight Abomination. You transform into a werewolf and you get a new set of skills, starting with the first skill, Rend and Tear. Dash forward, dealing 14,400 damage to enemies along your path. Enemies below 50% life will be dealt 19,500 damage and knocked airborne no more than once every 6 seconds against enemy player, maximum 3 charges. And then Lunge, run quickly as you charge the skill, increasing your movement speed by 30%. Release the skill to lunge forward, knocking back enemies in your path and dealing about 26,000 damage. And lastly, unleash a powerful howl, dealing 13,000 damage to your nearby enemies and marking them. When a marked enemy life drop below 50%, they will take 10,500 damage. And then we have couple of essences here for the Werewolf. You can see some from the helm, legs, main hand, and then we have more essences here on the shoulder, offhand as well. You guys can screenshot this, use it to plan your build for the upcoming Druid class. I will be doing the same thing, and looking forward to this new class coming out next week. But for now, I am signing off. Consider leaving a like. That's going to be a huge help. I'm signing off. You guys have an excellent day and take it later.